one tap. So for example, if I remove it and I try to run it, it's not going to run. See, I get a bad error. So why? Because Python is looking for that space and I didn't give that space. So it doesn't know what's going on. That's why it's giving me an error message. So now I'm going to press tab and then it goes back to where it used to be. I click run and it runs. Okay. Now, if I remove this one and I try to run, it's not going to run. Why? Because it's missing it, right? So once you set up your screen, the next thing you're going to set up your background. And background is basically the color that you're going to fill your background with. So as I mentioned before, you guys went to your breakout rooms. You can just Google RGB color picker and you're going to see this. And you can just play with the bar, just slide it back and forth, whatever color you want to pick, and you choose these numbers, okay? RGB numbers, that's what you're looking for. So I just picked whatever numbers I liked. So I mean, the color I liked. And the next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna choose fill, stroke, and rectangular. Why? Because now my goal is to draw the rectangular and then fill it with certain color. And then I'm going to do it 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Why do I need to do it 4 times? Because I've got 4 rectangulars here, okay? And then as you see that some of them have no stroke. Why do they have no stroke? Because I'm disabling drawing the outline. And that's what I want. So you can see here, I disabled that option. Here, I disabled that option. So hence, it's not going to be like, for example, the red rectangular, you can see that it has some black outlines because I used stroke. But for example, the white one doesn't have anything. It's just like a white rectangular and there is no clear outlines, not like with the red one. Why? Because I chose no stroke. Okay, so those are differences. They don't necessarily make a huge like they don't necessarily make a huge difference, just make things look a little bit like, I don't know, smoother, I guess. Because this one is pretty like, you can see how perfectly it outlines. Like, for example, the red one, right? You can see those black strokes around, so it's like perfectly stands out. And this one is not so much. It's more for a design. So just for you guys to know the difference between stroke and no stroke. No stroke disables those outlines and stroke enables them. Okay, so that's all you need to remember. And of course, fill, that is the function that tells Python to fill in a certain color. Okay, now I'm going to ask this. Does anyone have any questions about what we just covered? About stroke? Do we need to stroke? No, you don't. Yes, actually you do, sorry. You do, because with stroke, you have to specify what color of the outline you want to be. Okay, so Abdullah Rahman, I hope you answered your question. And do we know we don't have to put no stroke? You put no stroke only when you don't want those outlines. It's just like a little extra thing that you may or may not do. But if you choose to go with stroke, you have to specify those colors, because, for example, for the red one, we specified stroke to be black. So it will be black outlines here, like you can see that. Or, for example, the gray one will be 50. So you can see that it looks like there is a stroke, and it's kind of like hard to see whether it's black or dark gray. So you can see it's 50, but the red one is pretty clear. It's black, so you can see stroke 0. With no stroke, you choose nothing. Just no stroke, and that's it. That's all you need to do. How do we know where to position the shapes? So that is your X and Y coordinates. Yes, Katharina, what would you like me to explain again?
I just wanted to know, like, you were like rect and then 4 different numbers. Can you just explain like what these 4 different numbers stands for, please?
Yes, I can. So rect, it's very short for rectangular form. So rect is just a function that is going to draw your rectangular form, okay? Rect is just for short. Now, those numbers that you see inside, they represent 4 things. So the first one is going to be your X coordinate. So it will be horizontal line, okay? So just visualize X and Y coordinates, right? X and Y coordinates. So the first one is going to represent your X coordinate. So that will be horizontal line. Where is it going to start on horizontal line, okay? Now, the next number that you can see, so I'll just pick this rectangular. So the next one is going to be Y coordinate. So it will be vertical line. So where that coordinate on the vertical line, because when you give coordinates in 2D dimension, you have to choose two coordinates. It will be X and Y, because if you choose X, it's just going to be at the bottom and you won't see the other part of the shape. So that's why you have to use X and Y coordinates. Now, the next one is going to represent your width, so how wide your rectangular form is. And the last one is going to represent the height of your rectangular form. So since I picked this rectangular, I'm just going to mess up with this just to show you guys how it looks like. So I'm going to remove one number. And see what happened to my white rectangular? It got moved. See, so what I did, I picked this rectangular form. Okay, let me pick another one. Let me pick someone that is better to see. So let's go with the red one. So I'm gonna choose, for example, 10. So I changed my X coordinate for my red rectangular. See, it got moved. Why? Because I changed it from 100 to 10. So now on the X direction, it starts at 10. Now, if I change, so let's say I change Y coordinate. So I went from 100 to 10. See, it got moved all the way up, okay? Now, let me change the width of the rectangular form. That's it. See how small it became? Because I changed it. I went from 100 to 10. So now my rectangular form went from this to tiny this, okay? Now, let me change the height. So let's say I went from 50 to 500, okay? See how big it became? So now I went from 50 to 500. So I increased it by 10 times and see how big it became? And now I'm back to normal. Does this make sense? Katharina, did I answer your question?
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, perfect. Because stroke, it's a good question. So the reason why, because stroke covers only outline. So it cares about only one thing. It doesn't care about anything else. It just cares about one thing. So hence you just choose one number because it covers only outline. That's the only thing that you care about. I see question about how do you know which number will put it where, or do you just guess? I'm not sure if I understand that question. That's right. We just if you want no lines, then you just put no stroke. So yes, so that's a good question. So here so see size of your screen. So you know in X direction it's going to be 300 and in Y direction it's going to be 400. Now if I change that, if I go to 30, let's say, do you see how my screen looks like right now? So your screen will give you, so the way how you identify your screen is going to be a fundamental basis for you to identify how you're going to be placing your shapes. Because if this is 400 and this is 300, and you're trying to place it in the middle, you can estimate, so right here, it's going to be 150. right? So just think about it as a graph paper, and how many squares you have in the X direction and how many squares you have in the Y direction. So if your size is 300 by 400, that's how you're going to, that's, you know, the dimension of your screen, and that's how you're going to be placing your shapes. I don't necessarily guess, but it will be like a rough estimation, because that goes with my size. See, this is my size. So I have 300 here and 400 right here. So if I want my rectangular shape to be like at the top, then in the Y direction, it will be somewhere closer to 350. Okay. All right, I see that the code has been shared. So we're gonna move on to our next topic because we're running out of time. But if you guys have any questions, please make sure you ask your mentor, because you will have a chance to go into another breakout rooms. And you can also, you should be utilizing also Discord. Yes?
How do I choose the color for the fill?
I beg your pardon? Can you repeat that again, please?
How do we find the color for the fill?
Okay, so the color, you can just Google RGB color picker. And so once you Google that, that's what will display. And then here you can just slide it back and forth and identify what color you like. So let's say I like blue, like this kind of blue, like really dark. So then if I want to use this color, I just choose these numbers. So it basically tells me RGB 2968 184. So you don't necessarily need to understand how exactly it works. So right now, just take it as an instruction. Because later you're welcome. Later you will understand. Because later we'll be covering these topics more in depth, so it will give you better understanding. So again, if you guys don't understand something, don't stress about it, because this material might be hard at first, but then later it will come to you. It will make sense. I promise. It happens every year. Trust me. Okay, we're going to go to variables. So what are the variables? So variables, they have name. So a name, so that's what you call it. For example, age, that will be a name for the variable. And age equals to 23. So that will be the value of that variable. Now, what do they do? So a variable, they store a value. So it's kind of like a folder where you can, or like a pocket where you can put certain value. So that's the thing it contains, right? So for example, when we create a variable age and we say age equals to 23, we assign that value to age. So imagine age has a pocket, and this is the value. So you need to put that value into a pocket, and that pocket is going to be called age. Now, the value has a type. So there are two types of information that you need to remember for this session. There is a number and a text, okay? So when we talk about numbers, we're going to be talking about integer. And what integer is just a whole number. So integer, can anyone give me an example of integer? What is integer? Exactly. Yes. It's yes. Yeah, exactly. You got it. Yes, it's 4, 3, 5, 10. It's the whole number. It's not. So, okay. Now, question 1.5. Is that an integer? No. And what is it? Does anybody know what is 1.5? Decimal. Okay, a float. Okay, yeah, no, it's a double. It's double. In Python, it will be double. Yeah, that's okay. You'll get it. You'll get it. Later, you will really learn about it. It was a tough question. Anyway, so integer is the whole number. Okay, so it does not include any decimals. So this includes positive and negative numbers, just like you guys mentioned that in the chat. Now, there is another type, it's a float. So float, this used for all your decimal dreams, okay? So this also includes positive and negative decimals. So for example, a salary, 3,000.29. So these would be your floating. So your float number, so for example, is, okay, so you guys, I don't know what grade you're in, but you probably are familiar with pi, right? Like pi. So is pi an integer or pi is float? Float, yes, exactly. Now, there is another thing that you need to remember for today's session, string. So remember how in the very first, at the very beginning of our session, we had to print something. Can you guys tell me what type of information you guys printed? Was it an integer or was it a string? A string, yes, exactly, you printed a string. And why did you print a string? Because you indicated double quotation. So it is just a fancy name for text or string of letters. Just wrap the text in quotation marks, so you can use either double quotation or single quotation, as long as it's the same on both sides, and you will print a string, okay? So every time when you use quotation marks, that is a string. And please make sure you understand that part, because you're about to get your question on that. So, for example, when we create a variable and use it, all we're doing is accessing the value of that variable. So, for example, we set up our setup function, and inside our setup function, we created a variable height. We assigned that value. So our height is what? Is that a string, or it's an integer, or it's a float? What is it? Yes, float is a type of variable. Yes. Integer, exactly. So now when we print it, is that a problem that we did not include double quotation here? Or it should be like that? Is this a mistake or it's correct? It should be, exactly, yes, because it's an integer, yes. If this was a word, let's say height, and it was a word 10 in double quotation marks, then or for example, yeah, so then, yeah, sorry, it was a bad example. Okay, so it's good. Yes, perfect. Okay, let's move on to this. So now we've got our second quick question. So what type of value are we assigning to today? So pay attention. Okay, all right. Well, we'll see what the okay, I see some good answers and not so good. So pay attention. What does today have except the float? Float is the correct answer, almost. But what are you guys missing? Yes, I see something. Okay. Quotations, yes. So what does it suggest? When you see quotations, what does it suggest? What does it tell you? Quotations mean what? Okay, I like the answer. I like his answer. Yes. Yes. Yes, string, yes. So what is it? I'll give you a hint. It's only one. It's not two. It's one thing. It's only one. Okay, so to make it easy, so forget about this. What if I put here Sunday? What would it be? Would it change anything? Or Saturday, I guess. Today's Saturday. That's right. Nothing. It's not going to change anything. So if it's not going to change anything, what is it then? Yes. Okay. All right. I'll give 5 more seconds. I don't know if you guys are able to change your answers. But 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, you can't. Oh, okay. All right. Well, end poll. Oh, that's too bad. Okay, so so the correct answer was a string. And I'll explain why. So we've got our variable today. Okay, so it's just the name of the pocket. Okay, it doesn't matter. It can be called anything, like literally anything. Today is just the name of a pocket. It could be a pocket instead of today. It could be a day. It could be anything. Now, the part that is really important here are double quotations. So whatever goes inside double quotations, it doesn't matter. It could be any number, it could be a word, it could be a sentence, it could be the entire paragraph. It doesn't matter. If it's double quotation, it's automatically by default will always be a string. Okay. If you see this double quotation, that's it. It's a string. The reason why we put number there is just to trick you. Okay. It was a trick. But it doesn't matter. It could be a Sunday, it could be a number, it could be a number and a name. So for example, it will be Sunday 13.10. It could be anything. But as long as you see this quotation, it is automatically string. That's it, full stop. Yes, Ignite, yes. If you see double quotation, it is always a string, no matter what is inside those double quotation. For the computer, it is a string, full stop, that's it. If double quotations were removed, then it automatically a float. It's the number, that's it. But if it's double quotation, that's it, it's a string, okay? You can capitalize, you don't have to capitalize, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing because it's in double quotation. Okay, so double quotation always means word. It can be 13.10, it can be Sunday, it can be Sunday and 13.10. It will still be a string because it is inside double quotation. All right, so now you're going to be sent to your breakout rooms, but before you guys go there, here's the thing. So we're going to cover what in exercise you'll have to do. So first, I'm going to share the code with you. Just give me a second. Okay, so here's the code. Okay, so please make sure you copy this code and paste it in your trinket. Now, what exercise is asking you, you don't necessarily need to understand the code, exactly what it does. You just need to think about what you just learned. So about your variable. And your task is to move your snowman into 50 pixels down and 50 pixels right. So what is the least number of lines you need to change? And which snowman was easier to move? So I'll give you a hint. So these first 3 lines, they're not necessarily, they're not very helpful. So the first part of your code, like for example, inside the setup function where you define your size and background, that's completely irrelevant to what you're asked to do. The next 3 is basically what you're drawing. You're drawing a snowman. And then you're defining of variables. So here's the trick about the variables. The variables, the reason why they're so convenient is because you're able to change them without redefining them again. So here you define your 2 variables. You've got your variable X and you've got your variable Y. It's just a pocket where you're storing certain values. Now you're using those variables later in your code. And when you're asked to move something, you're probably going to be having a much easier time changing something that's been defined before. So if you define these variables here and you're reusing them here again, and you need to move these men, what do you need to do? What do you need to change? That will be the easiest thing to change. So you've got those 2 variables. Now you're reusing them again. So what do you need to do in order to move this snowman? Okay. So I hope. Okay, so I see you guys on the right track. Okay, I see you guys on the right track. Okay, so you guys should go to your breakout rooms and rock it. And you will be sent there for a short time because we still have a few things to cover, okay? So about 3 minutes, 2 minutes? I hope you guys were able to manage to get it to work. So just like some of you were able to figure out before you sent to the breakout rooms, all you had to change is X and Y coordinates, or I should say variables. So when the code was provided, it was at 300 and 200. So when I click run, the snowman is located right here. But then when I change it a little bit, let's say I just move it by 50 pixels in the X and Y direction. So then you can see one of the snowmen got moved just like was assigned to. And notice that this snowman is very easy to move because all we had to deal with is just to change X and Y variables. And why? Because those X and Y variables are being used in 3 ellipses that make this snowman. You know what I mean? So in order to move this snowman, I will have to change those variables 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, because I will have to change variables in each ellipse that I drew for this particular snowman. And because I did not use any variables, I just hard coded it. I said 150 here, 150 here, and then 150 205, and then 150 and 270. So for me to change this snowman, I will have to make a change 6 more times. So I will have to figure out what's the best direction I want to change it, and I will have to I can use the same variable here, but I will have to figure out how I want to change in this direction. So it will be more work, unnecessary work. But because this snowman was made up by using the variables that were declared before, in order for me to move this guy, all I need to do is just change these variables. So it's literally, I have to type it twice in X direction and Y direction, and I'm done. And this guy is taken care of. So I hope that it's clear how convenient and useful it is to use variables and how important it is, okay? So I will share this code in the chat to make sure that you guys have it for your record. And if you have any questions, please ask. But because we're running out of time, we won't be having any more breakout rooms for today. So, but before you guys go, we'll quickly cover operators. So now operators is something that you guys are already familiar with. So plus is addition, a minus is subtraction, and then star is multiplication, division is just a slash, and modulus is percentage. Now, modulus is a little bit more advanced, so I'm not going to be covering it today, but the most basic operators that you will be using for this particular session, and I'm talking about the beginning session for the next 8, or I should say 7 weeks, it will be mostly addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. If you want to multiply, you just use the star. If you want to subtract, you use the minus. If you want to add things together, you just use plus. So it's very simple. And these operators, they're used to do mathematical operations with your variables. So, and of course, I hope it's needless to say, but variables must be either integers or floats, so it must be number, because you can't really do the same thing with the strings, though you can concatenate, you can add them together by using plus, but on that it will be later. So just right now, focus on arithmetic operators, plus, minus, multiplication, division, and modulus. Modulus is a division, and I will leave it up to you to figure that out, because we're out of time, so I can't really focus on that. So here, we're going to quickly go on a last question for the session. So this is related to the operators that we just covered. So how can we define parameters x and y so that a circle defined as an ellipse will stay at the top left corner of the screen for any diameter d? All right, couple more seconds. All right, so the correct answer was answered B, where x equals to d divided by 2 and y equals to d divided by 2. Can anyone tell me in the chat why? So it's something very similar to what you guys had to deal with on exercise 2. So you just need to change one variable, right? So if you need to play with the diameter, then you just divide diameter by 2, since, yeah, exactly, yes. Yes, that's right. So now we're gonna move on to the special variables. So don't worry about this part too much if you don't get it, because it will be covered in depth next time. But basically what you need to remember is we can use the variables mouse x and mouse y to access the position of our mouse x and y coordinates. We don't assign any values to these variables. The computer does it automatically. So it's something that already Python knows. So for you, it's just like you can just use it, but you don't have to worry about assigning any values to it. So let's see how we can use that. So we're familiar with our setup function. We set up our screen size 500 by 500. Now we're going to be dealing with our draw function. So draw function, again, inside the draw function, it basically like an infinite loop will be running. And in order to start that, we're going to start with our background. So we're going to define the color of our background. Then we're going to fill our rectangular. So first we're going to say how we would like to fill it. So we're going to fill it with this particular colors. So then the rectangular will look like blue little square, and blue box. And then inside our rectangular function, we can use, instead of, so before we were using x and y, and then we were defining our width and height. But now we will be just defining our mouse x and mouse y. And then we will be defining our width and height. So in other words, now we're linking this box to our mouse. And instead of hard coding or telling exactly where this box should be located using X and Y, we will be using our mouse X and mouse Y. So before we were able to create that box and make it stationary, it would be just a static box. It would be sitting in our screen and not moving. But now we're using our mouse X and mouse Y. And what it does, it allows the box to move. That's it. So when you define X and Y, the box is not going to move because you specifically say you got to stay in this specific location. And your X and Y coordinates are this, let's say like 50 and 10 or like 100 and 150, whatever. But now you're not doing it. Now you're linking your box to your mouse. And as your mouse moves, your X and Y coordinates are changing at the same time. Does this make sense? What is the difference between mouse X and mouse Y? And yes, okay, perfect. So mouse X and mouse Y, it will tell the computer where your mouse is located, and it will link your shape, whatever you're drawing, to your mouse location. So let's just quickly show you how it would look like. So I will just copy this code and I'll share it with you guys as well. And you can see it right here. Now, it's not gonna work. Why? Because I'm missing tabs. So now I fixed it and now it's gonna move. So you can see that the mouse X and mouse Y is changing every time when I move my cursor, okay? So that will be very handy for your home exercises. So this is the end of our session. I apologize sincerely that we had to keep you longer, and it's a technical difficulties, but I promise next time it will not happen again. So I appreciate your patience. And before we go, a couple of things to make sure that you guys understand. So when you finish to work on your home exercises, in order for you to share your code, all you need to do, you need to save it first. And then once you save it, you will see a couple tabs here. So it will be copy, share, save, and then delete. So you just click on share, and then you get the link. And then this link you will be putting into your submission file. Okay. The exercise is usually due in a week, I believe. But if one of the mentors can confirm, I think you guys are given 1 week to complete your exercises. Now, quickly about the exercises. So if you're in a bug buster, then this is the exercise you need to do. So here you just draw your screen, your size of the screen, your background, then you draw your rectangular form, and then you will need to use your mouse X and mouse Y to change the colors. Okay, so something will be stationary, but something will not be stationary. So in order for you to figure out what you need to change, you need to think about what do you need to make stationary? Is it your box? And what makes this color change? Is that your mouse or it's something else? So it's probably your mouse X and mouse Y. And here, mostly it will be just mouse X and mouse Y. Again, something similar that we've covered in the very last of your session. Now with Python Lava, it's the same thing. So here you also will be using mouse X and mouse Y, but you got to do some tricks here in order to make it change. Yes, I will change. I will share those slides right now. There you go. Good question, Jade. How do we know which one we're in? So I would imagine that you guys been communicated. If not, then I believe it will be on Excel spreadsheet. So Arya, if you could please maybe share that document or
the document regarding what?
Some people are not sure whether they're in Pythonic Lava or Bugbusters.
Okay, yeah, definitely. I'll share it with them. Like I think like all of them here. Yeah, as
And
soon as
before you
I
guys,
get the as soon as I get the time, I'll just send it out an email so that it's more clear, along with the deadlines as well, like for the exercise and how do they submit and everything. So I think sending out an email will be easier for all of you guys. And Discord. So you guys can join the specific channel for the day. You guys for that, you guys will have to take the roles for which like Marina, can you just go on the first slide? Like, yeah, the Discord sign up. Yeah, perfect.
and do you guys have link to Discord channel? Okay, good. Now, if you find the content difficult, as I said before, please don't worry about it, because at first you will feel like it's a lot of information. It might be difficult, it might be confusing. So just sometimes it's gonna sound funny, but sometimes it's useful just to turn off your thinking and kind of just follow the rules, like follow the steps that you're told. It will be later. Later it will make sense, because later you will learn the reason why behind a lot of things that you're doing right now. So if you find it too difficult, too confusing, don't worry about it. Just try to do your best, and it will come to you. I promise it will, because this stuff might be difficult, and you're not the first one who is feeling that way. I promise you, trust me. Okay, we need a Discord server link, please. I don't have that link, so Arya, if you could please share that link.
Oh yes, definitely. I'll just share the link
Yeah,
too.
thank you. Yes. All right. Yes, so next Saturday, we will start our session at 11 a.m. As usual. This morning we had to start a little bit later because people were still joining, but for the following session, please make sure that you're on time, and we'll make sure that you guys have more time in the breakout rooms. Again, we had some technical difficulties, so I apologize, but this is if you guys can please quickly answer the last poll question. Oh, I'm very sorry. It should start at 11. I'm not sure why it said at 12. Are you in Alberta time zone or in? Are you?
No, I
Alberta.
think there was some mistake from my side. Like the communication team thought it was like there was some miscommunication about 12, but moving forward it will be at 11. So just make sure you guys are here before like 11, just 5 minutes before, and that should be good.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. All right. One last question, if you guys can please quickly answer on poll. I think I've shared it, and oh, it's ended.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Okay, just please. Thank you. All right, and once you answered this poll question, I thank you for your time, and I sincerely apologize for keeping you waiting for so long. That will not happen next week, so my apologies. Thank you for attending. I hope you guys had fun, and we will see you next week. Thank you. Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend, guys. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All the mentors, if you can stay back for the debrief session.
No, you won't be in the breakout rooms the whole class. It will be the same concept of this class. So you will be given the material, and then you will be given an exercise to work on in the breakout rooms. So the breakout rooms are designed for like a short period of time, usually up to 10 minutes. Yeah. So it won't be like that. And the exercises that you will need to do is based on whether you are in Python Lava or in Bugbusters. So if you on the Bugbusters, then there are 2 exercises you have to do with drawing rectangular forms and then changing color, removing them, and then you can Python and Lava, then there are different exercises you will need to do. So double check with the sheet which